so I think at this point, if you're ready, Dr. Sheridan, I'm going to hand it over to you because I know you're going to do a short welcome for us and introductions, and then be moderating the questions. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. For our guests, if you have any questions, please do feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will be answering those slightly later into the session. And also my email is out there as well, so please feel free at any point to drop me an email. We'd love to catch up. Okay, so Dr. Sheridan, thank you so much. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chris, and good evening, parents and potential Northmount Knights that are out there. On behalf of Northmount School, I would like to welcome you to Northmount's Our Kids Virtual Roundtable. My name is Terry Sheridan, and I will be the moderator for this discussion. I'm also very proud to be the head of Northmount School. I am pleased to be joined tonight by one of our wonderful graduates, Matthew Friesdahl. Matthew was last year's head boy at Northmount, and he will be able to talk to us about his personal journey at Northmount and all the wonderful things that he did and his experiences. As well, I'm also pleased to welcome two of our moms to the discussion. Roz Cho is a grade 8 mom who has been a member of our parent community for the past 8 years, and she is also our current Parent Association president. So welcome to you, Roz, and thank you. Last but not least, or second but not least, is Robin DeTosto. Robin's been a mom at Northmount for 5 years now, and she actually has 2 Northmount Knights in our community. Frey is in grade 3 and Sloan is in grade 4. Robin too is an active parent in our community, and she is currently in charge of organizing our parent-run yearly gala. So Robin, thanks for being here tonight. And last but not least, I welcome Jan Withers. Jan is our Director of Administration at the school, and thank you for being here as well. Just with regards to how the night will unfold, there will be a number of prescribed, already set questions that Matthew will answer, and then the parents as well. I would ask that if there's anybody in the audience that would like to submit a question, to please do so through the Zoom function, and Chris Roosh will pass that on or ask the questions himself. So without further ado, as we begin the evening, Matthew, you are first up, sir. So the first question I will ask you, Matthew, if you could respond to is, what did you appreciate most about the school during your time there? And how was your perspective on that change now that you have some distance from the school?
Wait, sorry, sir. Can you please repeat the first part of the question?
So the first part is, what did you appreciate most about the school during your time?
There we go. Yeah. So, I appreciated, first of all, I've appreciated many things that the school offered me. Some more than others. Some stood out to me a little more. But overall, I think the thing that I appreciated most about the school, which was how the school really dialed down and made you feel like you were one of the like the star kid there, you know, like the one that all the teachers wanted to make sure were really proper and always like handing in their work, like basically given the most attention and given the most care. For example, so in the beginning of the school, I was struggling a bit with my core subjects, particularly math. And the first thing that Mr. Merlano, which was my math teacher at the time, the first thing that he did was send me to the castle room where I worked with Miss Fiallo, who's really great. And all these little things, and she provided so much extra help, and it helped me a lot. Helped me with my confidence mainly, and obviously it showed a bit with the grades and how they improved. So I think overall the thing that I find that Northmount really capitalizes on is just extra help, making sure that you're comfortable, making sure that you're confident, for sure, in academics and in the social aspect of things. I know even me, like in the beginning of school, making friends first thing we did, we went on a school field trip, bonding trip. That was really great. Teachers always made sure you were playing in all the games, everything, and then you get a really good friend group going. So yeah.
Okay. So Matthew, now that certainly we're proud to have you as a graduate of Northmount, and you are now at Crescent School. To the best of your knowledge, if you look back, what do you think most differentiates Northmount from other schools?
Yeah. I think so. To be honest with you, I think it's the group of kids and teachers, which really differentiates the school. First thing I noticed was the teachers. The second I came to the school, my first teacher was Mr. Couric. He was my grade 7 homeroom teacher, which was the year I came to Northmount. And immediately I completely noticed how enthusiastic he was, how energetic he was, how he was really how he shaped out the year, and he made it seem like he was really gonna help you later on, and just overall made you feel very comfortable. Then the kids shortly after, like within the first couple of days, when everybody started to feel a little more comfortable with each other, then I noticed how social the kids were, how easy the kids were to talk to. I can't remember the first person I spoke to, but I'm pretty sure it was Sachin actually. But all these kids, it was very, very social, made you feel very comfortable, made you feel like you were part of the community that early on. So that's probably what I noticed.
Fair enough, Matthew. Thank you for that answer. And Matthew, if you were, this might seem like a bit of a strange question, but if you were to identify Northmount as a person, okay, what would the personality be like? And if you can, maybe identify 3 words that you think as a personality would identify Northmount, perhaps, you know, in a strange way as a person.
3 words that describe Northmount as a person.
Maybe describe, think of it as character.
Yeah. So, number 1 is honest, for sure. Being a Catholic school, that also helps that. I mean, like honesty gives a lot of kids, it gives you confidence, right? It takes a lot of the blurriness that happens in your brain when, and what I mean by that is you don't have to think, is this kid being honest with me? Is this teacher being honest with you, right? It takes away that aspect of thought, and that worry. So it's more space for other things, you know? so definitely honesty. It makes you feel very comfortable and very confident. And then next I'd have to say, there's so many words, you know? Like there's so many words, because I want to say academic as well. So I think Northmount is a very sports related school, but it's also a very academic school. And I think a lot of kids, including me, you learn a lot about yourself through challenges that you get put in. And Northmount provides a lot of challenges, and a lot of those are academic challenges. Like for example, my math class in the beginning of the year, Mr. Milano, I find, is a pretty strict teacher, and he works pretty fast and stuff. And I think that challenge in terms of an academic perspective really taught me about how I reacted to it in the beginning versus how I react to it now. Seeing a problem that I can't solve, do I panic and get all this stuff wrong, or do I relax and get it right? So I think academic, but not like academic in the sense where you're not only helping with like the numbers and stuff and those strengths, but the confidence and how you react to certain situations and certain problems. So yeah. And then one more word that I'd use to describe Northmount is just a community, you know, just a very loving community. Everybody's together all the kids, everybody works together, you know, like for a great example is, I mean, every morning we have a morning assembly, right? Like that's a time where like our whole school comes together. Dr. Sheridan or Mr. Roosh but Dr. Sheridan most mornings is at the front, right, leading the whole school, and everybody's together, right? Everybody's sharing announcements and stuff like this, and just overall a great community, that a lot of people, including myself, really grow off of. So yeah.
Thank you, Matthew. And if you were able and you could make the school better, what would be one thing, if you looked back, that you would maybe change or enhance that would make it better?
These questions are always so hard. I mean, come on. Make something about Northmount better. You know, that's a tough question. That's a really tough question. So, I think I'm gonna say sports. So I think so. Northmount participates in all, like, a lot of sports, right? I think every sport. I'm pretty sure. So Northmount participates every single sport: football, basketball. Well, not hockey and tennis and stuff, but so not every sport, but most for sure: football, basketball, badminton, even ping pong, like all this stuff, right? All these sports Northmount participates in, but and there's also like you got to make the teams and stuff, and go to the tryouts, and if you make the team, then go to the practices and stuff like that. But for kids that don't normally that don't normally make too many teams, I find Northmount like has a couple after school programs for them to get involved with sports and stuff, and that social aspect of things. But I think that's like one little thing that maybe you can improve on a bit, is and something I wanted to do as head boy, and unfortunately we had this whole coronavirus issue, which sort of hurt things with an after school program that we were working on, so for sports. But other than that, I don't think there's too much that Northmount can improve on other than that.
Very kind, Matthew. Matthew, two last questions.
Yeah.
So the first one is, and this, just give a quick thought. What do you think families would find most surprising about Northmount?
So first of all, I think surprising is just an intimidating term for exciting. I think surprising is, what would a family find surprising about Northmount? Well, it also depends on your background. So, for example, I'm going to put myself in this because I know my background, obviously. So, the school I came from, I just found that I didn't get much extra attention, right? Much extra help and all this extra stuff that Northmount provides. So when I came to Northmount, I found the most surprising thing was how the Northmount teachers were immediately like, okay, you didn't do so well in this, let's get you this, and all this extra help and stuff. And that one, like when I first got sent to the cast room, let's say, that was when I was like, oh wow, like I wasn't expecting that, you know, in that sense. So I think it's different for everybody. Everybody's gonna find something. Every family is gonna find something surprising. It all depends on where you're coming from, what school you were before, what all these extra variables, right? It all depends on all this stuff, where when you go and you see something different, or you see it better at Northmount, which a lot of things are, that's the thing you're going to find most surprising for sure.
And Matthew, you obviously did a wonderful job of leadership at Northmount last year as head boy. And I think your advice would be most applicable to young men coming in, or boys coming into the school. What advice would you give to a new student entering?
Um, I'd say the best advice I could give to a new student that's entering Northmount is to definitely to step outside your comfort zone. Obviously, that's a popular one. Go join the club that you never joined before. Go join the sports team that you always wanted to join, but you never really found the courage to. All this stuff, and keep the mindset of being in the challenge, which is how like this goes for sports and for academics. I found it in sports, and Northmount helped me grow this mindset in a sense. I think what it means, in my opinion, to be in a challenge phase is where, or a challenge mindset is where you're confident, but you're not cocky, and you also think you know you can win. You're confident but not cocky, but you also you know you can win, and you also have that little thing in the back of your mind where it's like I can still lose this. So I gotta pay attention. I gotta keep my mind strong, and stuff like that. So overall, in short terms, I think the best advice I can give: step outside your comfort zone, and then keep a humble and challenged mindset.
You had me at challenge mindset, Matthew. Well done.
All right.
So
All right.
Matthew, please don't leave us. There may be some
Yeah.
some questions at the end.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're going to turn it over to Roz and to Robin. So Roz and Robin, the questions are for both of you, and I'll just I'll give you both a chance to answer. So an easy one to begin with: why did you choose Northmount to begin? And maybe Roz, as the veteran parent, I'll give it to you first.
Okay, welcome everyone. And thanks, Matthew. You actually stole a lot of my answers, you'll see later on, which is nice and comforting. I came to the school with my son Daniel for grade 1. We had been in a small facility before that. And what struck me when we came to the school, a few of the other moms, was it's just you walk in and the building it's very comforting and not daunting. So if you have, say, a boy who takes a little time to ease into things, it's a really comforting place to sort of slide in. Another aspect to it, which surprised me, which I thought was a nice and unique element, was the chapel that's right in the school. Now, I'm not of Catholic faith, but I do think it's important in terms of the value and the character for bringing up our kids, that there is that aspect to it. So it was actually another nice element in the physical space of the building that attracted me to considering the school. The size of the school itself, in the 120 and I think 130 kind of number for all grades from JK to grade 8, is nice if that's what you're looking for. And I think in grade 1 it was a nice number. And the class size, I think at that time around 15, now we've grown to 16 or 17, but that's where it maxes out, is a good number. I didn't want something too small where class sizes were 4. That's why we switched schools. 6 people, that's not socializing. It's not enough breadth and depth of people and diversity, whereas 15 is a great number. Over 20 and 25 may be a bit challenging. So those were the things that attracted me initially.
And Robin, if I could turn that same question to you. Thanks, Roz.
So my older son Sloan started in SK. However, our first exposure to the school was actually at an our kids conference center. The first people that I met, Jan, you were one of them, as well as the kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Pimenta. At that point, Sloan was in preschool. We were just considering our options, whether or not we go with the public school in our neighborhood or go the private school route. We ended up choosing to try our public school. And shortly thereafter, we realized that it didn't meet our needs for a number of reasons. So mid-year, we went to the school. Roz, I think you were one of the first parents that John and I met. And we had a tour, a student-led tour by, I believe, a grade 4 or grade 5 at the time, who took us around. And at the same time, Sloan got to experience the kindergarten room. And all of that was sold. It was a smaller school, which ticked a box for us. It was evident from speaking with Mrs. Pimenta, different teachers, and just the whole pedagogy of the school, that academic excellence was a focus, as well as being well-rounded students with character traits, kind of taught character traits or enforced that suited our needs as a family.
Great. And just a follow-up question to both of you: in which ways is the school what you expected, and in which ways has it been different?
So I'll take an easy, well, I don't know, I'll just give an answer and you can put it into whichever slot you want. But one thing in thinking about the school and the number of years we've been there is I think what I really liked to seeing in the first year, and was quite evident, was although it's a school that expands from JK to grade 8 all in one. So again, we don't have the middle school or the the lower school and so on. It's all together. And when I went to school, I don't remember really being aware of the kids in the grade ahead of me or the kids below me, or certainly not down in the junior school. Whereas the boys here, because of some of the activities like Big Brother, Little Brother, and the assembly in the morning where they're all gathered together for the morning announcements and so on, they are acutely aware of kids in other grades. So it's really cute to see the grade 8s, and they have a little brother paired up with in the lower grades, and the lower grade kids, just as you know, Matthew, like are all over the bigger kids and in the playground, and they get to see each other and catch on things and teach each other from that. So that was something that was I hadn't expected, and I think is a really nice feature of the school.
Robin?
Your turn, Robin.
So what I expected, so based on what I had learned from the school prior to our boys going in, was that academics does play a very strong critical role within the school. And tied to that, the small class sizes, that hasn't changed. They're at a really, really great size, small enough that it's very focused, but large enough that the kids can actually get into experiments and work in groups and things such as that. So the school isn't too small, that it enables, it's just the right size that enables the classes to be able to do different ways. What I didn't expect, and Roz, I was going to say the same thing when my older one was in SK, when he first got there after a few weeks, an older boy went, "Oh, hey, Sloan." And I thought, oh, this kid's joking. and I said, "Oh, Sloan, who's that?" And he said, "Oh, that's so-and-so. They're grade 7, you know."
Yeah.
So it's camaraderie across the grades, which is fantastic. But also what I didn't expect, and even though I had been told, I didn't expect that there would be such a great focus and a great kind of 360 view on different academics, art, music, different types of physical fitness, as well as theater and all the kind of periphery that helps kind of make these boys well-rounded students.
Great. And so as we get the honor of kind of watching the boys each and every day, sometimes it's good to take a step back. And as parents, what do you think the biggest impact has been on each of your boys from Northmount or at Northmount?
I think the single gender feature, which again isn't for everyone, but for boys, especially in the junior school, I can see that there is there are definite pros to it. in that I think it's really great that they can, play on the field and challenge each other with math, computer math, whatever they have. They're competitive, and they get competitive with each other, and then they forget about it when they're doing something else, and they're collaborative, or they're gonna try and get it under each other's skin. So they have that whole gamut, and I think that impact for my son is a good thing in terms of the social aspect to it. I mean, the academics were a given that I would expect and want out of school, and I haven't been disappointed with that. So if you're asking me what has had a bigger impact from my point of view, would be that social aspect for him, that he's felt, as Matthew sort of alluded to, he can exert and be confident. He can also be vulnerable too, and all in the same place.
Great. And Robin?
For me, my two boys, although they have a lot of similarities, they're also very different. So for Sloan, I found that the biggest impact, but both, it's kind of the character pieces, how it's woven into it. So for Sloan, the biggest impact for him has been a safe space for him to grow his confidence. Even though he seems very confident, he looks for reassurance quite a bit. So he's learning that kind of confidence piece, to be more self-assured, also to be more conscientious. He might be the one who might, put his hand out or blurt out, but he's using those kind of traits that are being woven in to say, oh, maybe I better wait and think of others. Whereas my younger one, Frey, he's very self-assured. He's very confident. He kind of goes to the beat of his own drum. And, if he doesn't want to play, he just kind of removes himself. But he's starting to kind of break out of that shell. He's starting to speak more in class. He's starting to be a bit more kind of team-oriented, and kind of gravitating towards being part of groups and things instead of just being by himself. So growing them both in different ways.
Right.
I just want to add, I think the size of the school has in retrospect been very positive for Daniel, in that he started to get into the school play and the music stuff. And I can tell you that in a large school with where each grade may have 4 classes instead of 1 grade, where they all know their grade 7s, all the grade 6s know each other, and they're all sort of joining in and developing at the same kind of rate, roughly speaking. That I think was a reason why he would get into those things. And I'm not so sure that in a larger environment he would have tried out and gone into the class play or the school newspaper or things like that. So the size of the school, there's pros and cons to the size, but it's at a place now where I think it's quite well balanced in its pros and cons.
Yeah, Roz, you're right. It's kind of like it enables them to kind of explore different areas, risk adverse or risk mitigated. Home is always your safe space.
Right.
This school is the closest that I've ever seen to a safe place for my kids to kind of figure it out outside of the home.
So if I could ask both of you, Matthew, you did a wonderful job, and I thank you again for the comments that you made. But I'll ask the mums now, what do the boys say about Northmount when they get home?
Well, now you're just asking up to make up things, because I'm sure neither Robin's boys nor mine have come home and said something. But if I were to reach into his brain and get what I think he would say about the school, what comes to mind is, I said it before, sort of a sense of safety and comfort, and it's comfortable. Doesn't take them long to figure out the layout of the school, and from the little ones who race around as if they've been there for years, to the older ones. I think he knows from in the upper grades in particular, and from the teachers, he knows he's there to learn and study. He's not there to just fool around and play. He gets that import of going to school. It's to learn and to study, and that's his job. I don't think he would say this, but I think he likes or knows that there's healthy competition there. I'm sort of hearing that more and more, sort of like, well, so-and-so is doing this, or so-and-so is great at this, but I'm better at this. And so they really get to know each other's strengths and weaknesses in their group, but not strictly in a competitive way, but they also, or maybe it's just my kid, but who knows, but they also know how to help each other with the other person's strengths and weaknesses. So they know, I'm going to Matthew for sports stuff because that's his thing, and math is so and so, but I know this stuff, and they have trivia, come home and talk. But the thing that we'll talk about is they have trivia games with Mr. Keurig, and he enjoys that kind of stuff. So there's enough around, and I think for everyone to find something that speaks to them in particular.
For me, Sloan and Frey are typical students. They will grumble about their homework, but then on the flip side, they take pride in it. They want to show me their work. They want to show me stories that they've done in language arts. They want to show me marks, not just things that I have to sign to show that they showed me, but they take pride in their work. So they also say about the school, I hear lots about the different clubs. I hear about who's so far in the running for the House Cup. I hear about, right now there's elections going on, student council elections, if I'm not mistaken, and my older one is running for class rep. But you're right, Roz. I mean, even in the younger grades, grade 3 and 4, I'm picking up little pieces, like they'll tell me that so-and-so is really good at this. And that's hard for little kids to kind of concede that another child might be better at something. But I hear so-and-so is really good at this, so he and I was good at this, so we work together, that type of thing. Or, my older one is vying for class rep. And one of his good little friends as well is, and they've both agreed that if either of them win, they're going to be the assistant for the other one to make sure that the class just has a great class rep. So
Very good.
I hear a lot, but mine might be talkers. So,
so Roz and Robin, I asked Matthew this question as well, and asked you to put your thinking caps on. If Northmount was a living entity, a personality in and of itself, what 3 words would you use to describe Northmount?
So I'll go first because then Robin has to think of 3 others. But and as I said, they really much mirror Matthew's experience. So in reverse order that I had them, but my first one was nurturing. My second one was challenging, which is I think in accordance with what Matthew said, and my last one was academic. So which we've been talking about the nice environment for them, but at the end of the day, it is a school, and it does have an academic center to it. But I think in the way that happy kids, happy learning, and feeling safe and confident, I think that is what promotes the academic adjective that I chose.
right, I still have my 3. Perfect.
Okay, good.
So I picked upstanding. So just in that the school, the virtues and the character traits that the school kind of puts forward and weaves into the education. I find that the way that the school as an entity kind of comports itself is just demonstrating to the boys how to kind of bump along in life. I'll also say uplifting in different ways. So uplifting as a leader, if you're thinking of a leader, a leader helps lift others around up, and gives them the tools and gives them the ability to kind of be the best that they can be. leaders want to see the people within their organization kind of succeed. So I would take it from that kind of academic or just kind of whole person, but also through faith. So uplifting and enabling the boys. My boys are being raised Catholic. I am not Catholic, but you know, my boys are really excited this year. They are able to take communion. So that's fantastic. They were super excited about it at school. So enabling them to kind of explore their faith that way. And then my third is outstanding. So outstanding in a lot of different ways, but again, the academics, the extracurriculars, how they deal with the whole community, school community, outside the community, as well as how they help ferry our boys kind of through the years.
Great. Thank you for those insights. And a last question to Roz and to Robin, and it's actually in two parts. So I'll ask them separately. So I'll ask you to respond to each one and then I'll ask the second one. The values, how would you describe the values of the school?
So in this one, and I actually know the second part of this question, which is the values of the community. And I actually think they're the same. I used the three same adjectives that I thought of. They were generous, supportive, and ambitious. And I'll break that down. So in terms of generous, the school is generous in spirit. I mean, I think in keeping with the you know, the Catholic nature and basis for the school. But the parents are particularly generous as well. And so there's lots of, as a PA, as being part of the PA, there are lots of opportunities for parents to contribute, to be part of their son's school. You don't have to, but there's enough uptake from the parents, even in the small school, that's very, it's very comforting, very, you know, it's very comforting about the quality of the parents and the quality of the community. Supportive, the school is Matthew identified as well. I think supportive to its students, in the range of students, in terms of abilities and aptitudes, and facilities is something that, you know, the PA and the school have been working on over the few years to be supportive from a facilities point of view, which is important. And I'm going to throw in, and we've, as a parent body, have said this to you, Dr. Sheridan, you know, in terms of the response of the school to COVID and getting us up and running in September with all of the protocols and safety measures and the sneeze guards for every desk and taking down walls, just for the people listening, you know, a couple of walls to make sure the classes were large enough, and having the teachers ready to teach in a different type of environment than a lot of them probably imagined, and separating the schools out and the classes out and training the kids and having all of that pretty much on the ground and ready to go on the first day. And from my knowledge from other parents at other schools, that is an exception and not necessarily the rule about how well it's gone. And our kids are like, again, they can adapt as long as there's some leadership from the top down, giving them examples of how to what they need to do and why. So that's the supportive part. And ambitious, again, I want to say, and I think Matthew is an example of this as well. Matthew, you're a great guy. You're like very personable and all that, but I happen to know that you're pretty ambitious too. And so I don't want that to get lost sort of in the idea. And a lot of the boys are, or want to be, and want to know how to be. And so I think, you know, where there's competition, that's nice. Where there's collaboration, that's nice. And the teachers are certainly working on that to try and make sure that it's not a fault to have ambition. It's not a fault to go, I'm going to go to high school, I'm going to go to university or something after that. And that's something else that I think the school and the parents, I think all the parents are of the same mindset of that as well.
So Robin, in terms of the same question, I'll ask you, maybe not even to break it up, just in terms of what do you see the values of the school being and the values of our community?
like Roz, and it stands to reason. The success of the school and the success of the community is that we have kind of similar, we're on the same wavelength, all of us pretty much. So the way the different values of the school and the community that I see, it parallels Roz quite a bit. Caring, supportive is a great one, whether it be support of the school, whether it be time from volunteering, whether it be, bringing food in for the food drive, every little bit demonstrates just how strong and close-knit the community is. And I'll put it right back to the same value of the school, because you see the teachers putting in those extra hours. You see them setting the children up to succeed, whatever it is. The teachers, the staff, they're all invested, which is a critical component for us. We feel we're invested, and it's great to see that everybody else involved is. Also, again, it kind of echoes Roz, but high achieving / goal driven. You're right, Roz. There's no shame to have goals, and different goals for different children can mean different things. And the beauty of the school that it allows for that kind of variation. Yes, it's a very high achieving school. It's a very academic driven school, but there are different echelons, and you can see different kind of waves in what some of the boys focus on. So I appreciate that. And then just finally, collaborative. We have a great parent body. I've been able to work with a number of everybody is all in. We all want this to succeed. We all want our boys to succeed in whatever capacity or in whatever way suits them as their own being. And we're all working towards that goal.
So Roz and Robin, just before we move into the questions, if there are any from the audience, just Robin, you just touched on that last piece about parent involvement. And if you might, or if you would, could you just comment on the importance that you think the school puts on parent involvement on whatever level you think it does?
So it's always a difficult balance to have parents involved at schools. I don't suppose that many schools want to hear from parents at any time about any issue. It's very hard to navigate, and lots of issues that the administration knows that the parents don't know. What I think, again, and I give a lot of credit to you, Dr. Sheridan, is there is at least an ear to hear from the parent association or any individual parents about things, whether it pertains to their own child or whether it pertains to the school in general. And there's a respect there in hearing it. May or may not, be answered in exactly the way the parent wants. That's life. But the point here is, and that we want to teach the kids, is you have to listen and then think about the answer and answer. So the PA was set up, it wasn't here when I got here, but maybe in the last, I think, 4 years it is. And again, that kind of initiative by parents to set it up, and the parents who did set it up, and then other parents coming on board as we come along, out of the blue, sort of after a number of years where I think it hadn't been active, is again really actually commendable, and really it has to have been a success in order for it to continue, because things like that die on the vine. When there isn't communication between the administration and parents on a parents association, parents will just leave and they won't bother to do anything, or the administration will just ignore them. So there is a really nice balance and a nice dialogue between the two, and parents feel listened to, and so they have a voice, unlike perhaps on the public school board or other larger schools. And again, that may come a lot down to the headmaster and or the school, but I think it's a bit of an ethos in the school.
Yeah, so I think parent involvement within Northmount is very evident. It's wonderful that, you know, well, except for COVID, now we have a virtual open door for the most part towards the administration of the school or the teachers. And then, you know, on the flip side, having so many parents involved in helping run pieces of the school activities such as the PA or different volunteer opportunities. You know, we're all super busy. You know, we have too many things to do. Our phone is going off all the time. We're stuck in traffic all the time. And people might think, oh, geez, I can't add another thing onto my plate. But it comes back in spades. And the boys also see the parents' involvement.
Mm-hmm.
And it also helps hit home that, you know, you get what you put in, you know, you get out what you put in. So it really just strengthens the community that much more. And the boys kind of resolve that they're in a pretty special place. Like, I know my boys feel that they're in a pretty special school. They feel somewhat that it's a privilege, homework aside, but it just helps hit that home.
Great. Well, thank you very much to Matthew and Roz and Robin. And Chris, at this point, I'll just ask if there have been any questions for our audience. There are other questions that we can put out to our panel, but there may be some questions from the audience.
Thanks, Dr. Sheridan. Nothing yet from the floor, but again, anyone who feels like typing in a question, please do feel free to type that into the chat box and we will be happy to answer that. Also, I would just throw it out there that if you don't feel like asking a question now, please do pick up the phone in the coming days or shoot me an email. And again, happy to answer anything that you have got questions about. Okay, so yeah, back to you, Dr. Sheridan.
So Matthew, we'll come full circle. Oh, sorry, Mrs. Withers has a question. One of our very own.
I do have a question. All the wonderful things are being said about Northmount, and thank you for everybody for being here. One thing that I think that we didn't touch on was our alumni. And even though Matthew is a first-year alumni, congratulations, but we have a lot of alumni over the years that come back and still visit the school. And they're there because they know that they had the caring staff that supported them and helped them get to where they're at. So it's nice that we see them come back. Thank you.
Dr. Sheridan, I've got a question from the floor. And I don't know who would like to answer this, so I'll just ask the question. So the question from the floor is, how does the school cultivate individuality? How does the school cultivate individuality? Please feel free to jump in. Thank you. Thank you for the question. And panel, please feel free to unmute yourself and go for it. How does the school cultivate individuality?
I'll go first.
Thanks,
Be individualized, and I'll go first. I think it goes along the lines of the starting with the class size, and this. I'm not sure if it's because of the school or because of the class size, but as I said, that not only do the teachers know the students, but the students know each other. And very quickly, maybe it's because they're all boys, or maybe it's because it's, you know, as I said, they have the assembly together in the morning and they fool around and get told to be quiet and so on. But they learn about each other's strengths and weaknesses, and they, as I said, and they talk about them. They really do recognize them and don't just sort of gloss over them. And so that, I think, enables the boys to be individual and be not be afraid to, if they love music or they love art or they like to read in the library, like that's fine. It's sort of processed and, you know, turned around, and everyone knows what they are. And then they also get exposed to other things through the other boys that they can try, decide whether they like it or not. I think the teachers also, I mean, teachers are partial to their own subject matter. So I think if they find kids who are, you know, particularly attuned to their particular subject, then they obviously get a little more maybe attention, or they get picked up more, which is, I think, what you want. So that kind of individuality is there. I think with kids this age, and Matthew, maybe you can comment, like, I don't know if you know what individuality is. I think what you need to feel is sort of the confidence that you're not afraid to step out on the curb or to do something. And then you start to sort of embrace individuality. I don't know that it's, you know, it's not going to be in kindergarten or otherwise. Are there rules? Absolutely. So rules are the contrary to individuality. But I think you got to have some kind of rule and some kind of structure first before people then know, oh, I'm outside the structure. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that.
If I could add as well, I think to reiterate some of what Roz has suggested, Matthew was obviously a very strong athlete at Northmount, but the time and energy that's put into programming around robotics, choir, art, are all significant programs at Northmount that we believe helps young men, boys to help identify their own interests. And we also have other opportunities around clubs where on Wednesday afternoons, each staff member, male and female, they run their own club that the boys sign up for. And those two, and that there's baking, there's the no-bake baking, there's a cooking class. There's a number of activities that help to round out a boy's experience at Northmount. Yes, a healthy competition, whether it's, you know, academics, whether it's athletics, whether it's board games. You know, we do encourage that because we think it helps create confident young people, not just boys, but confident young people. And I think the you know, that focus on the well-roundedness on top of the education, the academic part, helps to students to develop that individuality. And for the most part, the individuality is going to be expressed probably at later times in their life, not really as Rod said in JK or grade 3, but that confidence to be yourself is very much what Northmount is trying to engender in its boys.
If I can just add very quickly, because I have two boys that are quite different but close in age, and as they go along in the grades, Frey, my younger one, has relatively the same teaching structure that Sloan had the year before. So I'm able to kind of see the differences. So the grade 3 homeroom teacher with Sloan, because the teachers know them so well individually, they know kind of their mannerisms and their characteristics and how they can kind of bring out the best or just communicate with them the best way possible. I see that there's a shift for Frey, who's a little quieter and kind of does his own thing. So it's not trying to do square peg round hole. It's treating them as individuals within a framework. There has to be that framework there, like you said, but enabling them to kind of branch out into that individuality that you'll get later on. Frey is not a runner. Frey is not, but he's joined Run Club because his friends did, and nobody's, laughing at him. He's having a blast, and he knows he's not the fastest, but he's trying something new, and it's okay that he's now kind of competing against himself.
So, Chris, if there's not a question from the floor, one question that we do often get for our students, and Matthew, this will go back to you, is preparation for high school, and maybe more along the application side. I think we've talked about the academics and the preparation. We are pleased that the independent schools in Toronto do come and meet with our boys to tried to draw them to their schools. But Matthew, maybe just in the process of preparing you application-wise, what comments would you make about your preparation for that, for heading off to Crescent and applying to the other schools that you did?
Yeah. Well, I think so. Northmount, as we can tell, makes you feel very confident, and that allows you to go and ask teachers for things, and that's support. That could be written support. That could be emotional support. I'm going to give you an example. I asked Dr. Sheridan to write my reference letter for my application to high school and to Crescent. And he wrote a really nice letter for me, which I know helped me out a lot.
It was all true, Matthew.
Sorry?
It was all true.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know, but yeah. So I mean, in that sense, I think Northmount just has that in their blood per se. Always to help written. In a written form or digital form, but Northmount also helped a lot with an emotional and confidence booster in a sense. Like, for example, Dr. Sheridan was offering, and I can't remember if I went to one, but I know a lot of friends that did. I'm pretty sure I actually did, but he offered to give us a little practice interview. So like a demo interview. So we came in, asked us a couple questions that obviously with his experience, he'd know a lot of schools would ask. And yeah, so he asked us, he asked me all these questions, made me feel very comfortable, and as if I already had the interview. And then I go to the interview, and it's just that much easier. So applying to high school is actually the easiest part for sure. With all the support that Northmount brings, it's just during the school year, the opportunities that you take advantage of is what's gonna define what happens later on in your high school years, which is why it's important to have courage.
Mr. Roosh, I noticed we're getting on to 7 o'clock. I'm not sure if there's any questions still on the floor or ones that you might choose to ask.
Yeah, no further questions from the floor, Dr. Sheridan. But I think I just wanted to put out there that in terms of Northmount's admissions policy and cycle, we don't actually have a hard fixed deadline like some of the larger schools like Crescent or Upper Canada. But what we do is we'll arrange tours by appointment. We're very comfortable giving you a tour of the building if you're happy to in this time of COVID. And then, once you've gone away and sort of thought more about it, if you'd like to make an application, you can do that either old school with the physical bit of paper that I'll give you in the brochure, or you can do it online. And then we'll book in a time for a family interview. So the parents and the son would sit and have a friendly conversation with Dr. Sheridan and myself, and to sort of get to know each other a little bit better. And then there'll be some academic testing, some math, reading and writing. And once all of that is sort of looked at, we would then make a decision, normally fairly quickly, within a week or two. And then you would know where you stand as to whether we've made an offer or not. So many of the classes are at or near capacity. Some grades we do, take on a few extras each year. It's 12 students for K2 grade 1. So we then take on a few extra for grades 2, 3, 4. They go up to 16, and then grade 5 to 8 go up to 18. So anyway, the point is there's no fixed deadline. If you're interested, we'll be happy to continue the conversation, and we accept applications throughout the year.
Great. So just to conclude, Robin, Roz, Matthew, thank you very, very much for joining us, and Jan and Chris, thank you for your work behind the scenes here. So thank you very much, and I think that concludes the evening.